Black metal hails from Finland. This time on this split, which we have here for review, we have two bands coming from Finland, obviously, Witchcraft and Aske. Now, before we go into details, let's just do a little bit of unboxing and then share you some information regarding the band. Bands. And as you can see, this is pretty plain split CD release by Bestial Burst. Here are the track list. 5 tracks for Witchcraft, 3 for Aske. Roughly 35 minutes of raw bestial black metal, or more like black metal and black death metal. Here's the cover, which seems like Jesus is just blowing the other goat. I don't think that's the case, but, well, it would make this cover art even more blasphemous. Here you have some information regarding the recordings and whatnot, and then some imagery about the bands in question. We're gonna take a look at this band's Metal Archives site for your convenience, so you have a little bit of clue what to have here. Here's the track list. Let's just zoom in a little bit. As you can see, here are the 5 plus 3 tracks. Let's start with the Witchcraft, because it's obviously the first one on this split. Now the curious thing is, if we just take a look at the Witchcraft name here, you will see that there are plenty of Witchcraft bands. Now make a guess which one of these Witchcraft bands is the youngest one. There are lots of bands from the 80s, 90s and even early 2000s. And guess what? The one from Finland, also known as Blasphemous Witchcraft, this is the newest one. One can only wonder what makes a band to choose a name that is already used by a dozen other bands. I mean, even some of those are like nuclear blast size names. It's a good name for a metal band, but by the year of 2013, not to mention 2020, why even bother? Well, let's just say nicely that originality is not the forte of this band. As you can see, pretty much the whole discography is made of splits and demos, which kind of puts this band into demo category band. That is still very much work in progress, and unfortunately it's true with the Dead Christ Prayer split as well, because to be honest, this sounds like it's for the very first or maybe the second demo of a band that wants to just worship Archgoat. That is brutal, chaotic, very unoriginal death black metal with kind of a growling vocals and kind of a mushy sound. Nothing wrong with that if you do it well, but to be honest, this is not very well made. It's actually very mediocre. Not exactly bad, because obviously you have this kind of a violent feeling with the split songs. It's like, yeah, it's growly, yeah, they're goats, yeah, they're reds, whites and blacks on the cover. We have all it needs, plus goats, plus some blasphemy. Very nice, guys, but since 1991 or so, this really hasn't made an impact in the terms of originality. Unless you have something original in the first place, but this is very much just like one of the other bands in 1,000 or so. Kind of hard to give you a good reason why to check out this. Unless that is you're a big death black kind of a hybrid fan. Not really great material, not bad, but still making me wonder why. Anyway, let's just not disrespect this band a little bit more, but focus on the better side of this split. And that is by a band called Aske, which I featured not too long ago. That is only a few weeks ago, when one of these releases were brought into my attention as well, being a reissue of older material. As you can see, this is one already from 1991 and already did quite a bunch of demos in the 90s. Then kind of vanished for a long period of time until it came back in this particular decade. And now there are compilations, boxed, split, EPs, and even more splits. Kind of active being in the recent years. And with Dead Christ Prayer, I think Aske is a little bit notch up from the previous parts. Not still great, but at least the direction of the music is, in my opinion, the right one. Aske is playing more like traditional 1990s black metal. So the second wave definitely not very modern, and that applies to both songwriting as well as the production. And while the production could be a lot better, I mean, there's nothing wrong with sounding very raw and kind of early 90s, but I mean, it wouldn't hurt if this was a little bit more powerful. There's only so many reasons why early Bathory ones are loved, and they are not loved for the sound. So, I mean, why copy the worst parts of raw, primeval black metal when you can just go cherry picking and, you know, pick the best one of both worlds? We could have more powerful yet raw sound. I'm thinking of like Darkthrone and Iliarn, and still make it worthwhile being this kind of a classic black metal approach. Now, with Aske's 3 songs, it's clear that some of these are better ones and some of them are not that good. That is, it's not very stable and constant quality. That is, some parts are just clearly better than the others. And the better ones are actually pretty nice. I mean, there's something that I could imagine listening and fully enjoying for a whole album. Unfortunately, some parts are more like filler riffs and parts that are like not to be missed even if you never again got to listen to them. So all this being said, with this split, what we have right here, I could say as nice as an old school as a release like this can be, it's kind of a given that this is very small marginal amount of people, because the thing here is all this stuff is more like demo material put into a kind of a split compilation, if you will, even though this is officially fresh and new recordings. So I don't know, maybe this will be a future classic, the kind of a cult classic people will be referring to. Only those who know and honor it. But for the rest, don't go blindly buying this one. But give it a chance if you think Bestial, Death Black, or Roy's second wave black metal with the hints of first wave are your cup of tea. Then this might be the thing you will be going for. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your Witchcraft /Aske and have a good time with blaspheming the Christ. Look.